Please come on in, come on up, even if you've got to escape partway through. Better to be comfortable and cozy for the time that we're here. So thank you for joining. My name is Michelle Long. I oversee alumni relations at First Headquarters. That includes both the scholarship program and our internship portal. So the point of today is for me to share anything and everything you need to know about using both of those programs and their portals. So I do have a little bit of a presentation today. There's very little for me to tell you. What I want to hear is you to tell me what questions you have about using the program. We've got ways to step through any of the tips and tricks. So we'll all work together, and hopefully we'll all walk out of here as experts for using that program and then share our knowledge with our friends and, kind of first family members. Does that sound good? Awesome. All right. So I always like to start every presentation that I do with the first mission. It reminds us why we're here, what we're here doing. Especially as adults, sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we're here to make sure that any of the kids on our teams now or later become leaders in their fields. So everything that I get to do at First as part of our alumni relations department really focuses on making sure that we're preparing y'all to become the leaders of your fields in the future. A couple of ways we'll talk about that today are the First Scholarship Program. So who here, with just a quick raise of hands, who knows about the First Scholarship Program, just knows that it exists? Okay, good. Yes, almost every hand goes up. Fantastic. Who feels like they understand how to use the First Scholarship portal? Less hands. All right, understandably. So this slide you'll see a lot, or some version of a slide that looks like this. This is kind of our promotional slide, so it tells you a little bit about the scholarship program and how it works. So this year we have nearly 200 colleges and universities making available scholarships to students on first teams, and we have a total of over $70 million being made available as part of that program. So really remarkable what our college and university partners do. And I realized this when I did this presentation last week, but I've done a couple of First Championships since then. This was supposed to be a slide about our internship portal, but I just kept our scholarship slide twice, so my apologies. Let's talk about the scholarship program. I'll give you a little bit of an overview. So the scholarship program is primarily a partnership between First and colleges and universities or other entities, scholarship providing groups, who make available scholarships exclusively to the First community. Now, most of these are available to students who are actively on First teams. There are some that are available to students who have already graduated, and we'll get a little bit into those details in a minute. So our scholarship providers make available post-secondary, so that's after high school, scholarships, like I said, for participants on or alumni of First teams. All of our scholarship providers set their own criteria, their own deadlines, their own information. We'll dig into that a little bit as we go through today. And then our role at First Headquarters is making sure that y'all know about all of those opportunities, that you have easy access to them, and that you're able to apply for those as you look for what comes after high school. As we go through today, if you have any questions about what I'm specifically talking about, shoot a hand up and we'll take those as we go. If you have questions about something that's not on a particular slide, there will be a point where we'll dig into more of those specific questions. Does that make sense? Nodding heads. All right, cool. So how does the program work? So our scholarship provider partners, like I said, primarily colleges and universities, make available scholarships specifically to y'all on teams. So if we're talking about colleges and universities, those are funds that those colleges and universities have set aside for First participants. It's not money that First has, so my office is not made of money. I don't sit on a pile of money waiting to dole it out to people. But what I do is help connect you with those colleges and universities and other scholarship providers who want y'all at their institutions. We promote anything and everything you need to know about the First Scholarship Program at firstinspires.org/scholarships. Anything that you could ever need to know should be on that webpage somewhere. If you find that you're there and you're getting a little turned around, my contact information is also on that page, and you can reach me very easily. So what we do is we host that information. We promote that in a variety of ways throughout the year, which I'm sure most of you have seen. There's information in your First Robotics Competition kit of parts, or if you order any First Tech Challenge materials, you'll get some brochures and information within that. If you've been to any First Robotics Competition or First Tech Challenge events throughout the year, you'll see slides and information there. And then everything online should lead you back to the First Scholarship Program. And then we also do really cool events like Scholarship Rows at some of our First Tech Challenge and First Robotics Competition events. Those of you who may not have been able to make it over yet, definitely check out our innovation fair here at First Championship in Detroit. We've got about 30 of our scholarship providers right outside of that ballroom who are eager and anxious to talk to you. And then, like I said, everything you need to know is going to be at firstinspires.org/scholarships. So if you walk out remembering anything from this session, remember that URL, and everything you need to know is there, including my contact information. Questions on any of that so far? Is that a hand or just an itch? Just an itch. All right. So let's talk a little bit specifically about this year's program, our 2018 First Scholarship Program. So like I said, we had over $70 million being made available in scholarships this year by nearly 200 scholarship providers, and that was a total of about 2,500 individual scholarship opportunities. So what that means is about 2,500 individuals on first teams from all across the world are going to be able to gain access to those scholarships. So it sounds like an amazing program when we talk about those really big, giant numbers, and then as we whittle down, we get to the point where we see 2,500 students. There's more than 2,500 students here in this building. So what I like to work on is making sure that more schools understand the benefits of FIRST. More schools want to make available scholarship funding so that you go to their university, and that eventually we have scholarships available at any and every university that you might be interested in, so that that number is really, let's say 200,000, which is much more like what we have as far as seniors every year. Just some quick information about the program this year. So about 90% of our scholarship opportunities were made available by specific colleges and universities. That other 10% are primarily companies or other scholarship providing organizations whose scholarships are usable at a variety of colleges. So let's take, for instance, our friends over at Kettering University. So if you apply for the Kettering University First Scholarship, let's say they offer that to you. Congratulations. But then you decide to, let's say that you ultimately want to go to university at Michigan Technological University. You can't take your Kettering money over to Michigan Tech. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So what I encourage folks to do is apply to any of the FIRST scholarships at colleges or universities that you're interested in attending. And then for all of those non-school specific scholarships, and then you'll get offers in many cases from multiple schools. And then eventually the one that you decide to go to is the one that you would be awarded that scholarship money for. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So then the other thing that we get a lot of questions about are, if you go to that scholarship page, you see a lot of engineering or science or computer science. So about 45% of our scholarships in the program were made available for any major. And then about 55%, so the slight majority of the scholarships within our program are available for a variety of STEM majors. And if you take a peek at that program, most of them do tend to skew toward engineering. So while we do work with our scholarship providers to help them understand that there is much more to the FIRST experience than engineering, as y'all know, it's really easy to see a robot and say, I understand how that gets made. It's engineering. So we work with our scholarship providers to help them understand that there are folks who want to major in business, marketing. I was a theater major when I was in college, so we want to make sure that folks recognize that the FIRST experience is for everyone, and that we want our scholarship providers to make sure that their scholarships are available for everyone as well. Questions so far? All right, cool. We're getting almost to the point where I stop talking at you and you start talking to me. So just some information to know. I know folks who, before I dig into this slide, show of hands, who is either a parent or a team mentor? Okay, great. So we got a lot of parents here frantically scribbling information for their teams and their students. And then from the student side, do we have anyone who is already a FIRST graduate, so a FIRST alum? Okay. Got one back there? Nice. Anybody who is a senior in high school right now? Okay, couple of seniors. Nice. Anyone who is a junior this year? Okay, good. Sophomores? Great. Freshmen? Nice. Okay, good. Fantastic. And anybody who I did not call a category that you fit into? All right, cool. So as we talk today, that just gives me kind of some information about what we want to dig into. So those of you who are seniors, show of hands, have you already applied for FIRST scholarships this year? Ooh, Fantastic. Excellent. So of those of you who are seniors who have not yet applied for first scholarships, yeah, I'm staring at you. Are you interested in applying for first scholarships this year? Okay. We got a couple folks. Those of you who are in that situation, make sure to grab me afterward and we'll have a specific conversation about what's still available this year. For those of you who are parents, team mentors, and younger years in high school, we're getting you prepared so that you don't miss out on any of the deadlines in the future. So one thing to pay attention to is this slide. It looks very similar every year, and this is a slide showing the application deadlines within the first scholarship program. So as you see down at the bottom, we've got starting in November all the way through next October. So right now we are in the end of April. So we've already hit the peak and we're coming down the other side. So what that means is if we have seniors in high school right now, they've probably missed the majority of our first scholarship deadlines for this year. So what we're going to do as parents, mentors, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, we're going to make sure that we don't miss those deadlines in the future, right? Nice, I like that. So about 75% of the application deadlines fall within the first Tech Challenge event season and first robotics competition build and competition seasons. So if the first time someone on your team is hearing about the first scholarship program is at like first robotics competition kickoff, it's possibly too late. So we want to make sure that folks find out this information as early as possible, start to explore the scholarship program, and then begin completing those applications primarily during their senior year, and we'll dig into those details in a second. Before we get into those details, any questions so far? All right. Is anybody like half asleep now? It's still a little early. No? Everybody's awake? Cool. All right. So here's the point where I want to start hearing from you. I have hopefully constructed this presentation in a way that we can bounce around what would usually be live on the first website and answer any questions about how the program works. So I want to start with asking if there are specific questions about how to search for scholarships. If we don't have any of those, then I'm just going to start bopping around and showing you a little bit of the information on how to do that search for yourself, okay? So any specific questions on how to use the first scholarship program right now? In the back. Shout it out for me. Great. So the question was, if we're a senior in high school and we missed out on these deadlines, can we try again next year or once we're in college? So as we poke through here, you'll see a little bit, actually. So one of the things you'll see on the screen here is a little bit of information. So the thing that you're going to want to pay attention to, or anyone else who misses those deadlines, is going to be that grade column. So there are 3 choices in that column that you'll see: 11, 12, or COLL, C-O-L-L, which stands for college, okay? So that tells you when that scholarship provider wants you to apply for those scholarships. So if you are looking at a particular scholarship at a particular school, and let's say you're a sophomore, I would recommend that you familiarize yourself with what that scholarship looks like, what those requirements are, and then if they require that you apply during your junior year, take care of that as soon as your junior year starts. If they require that you apply during your 12th grade or senior year, make sure that you apply during that 12th grade or senior year. The vast, vast majority of scholarships within the first scholarship program require that students apply during their senior year of high school before they have matriculated to a college campus. So matriculated is one of those words you'll hear as you go through the college search process. That really means started full-time education on a college campus. So if you are a matriculated student at one university and you're interested in transferring, you would look at that college box. So let's also connect specifically there afterward, and I can answer any particular questions about being a senior. Great question. So this is a great example here from our friends at Kettering University. Most of the scholarships within the first scholarship program are renewable. However, Each of them is going to have specific criteria on how to renew those. So some of them will renew automatically as long as you maintain a certain academic status at that school. Some of them require that you reapply. All of that information is available on the website, so check that out and make sure you know all of the specific details. I'm going to take a walk over here because I'm going to get pointy. All right, so I want to take you through a couple of these fields so that you know what we're looking at, and then I can answer some more specific questions about how to use each of these fields, okay? So first here is program. So those of you who've been around the FIRST community for some time will remember maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, there used to be 2 different numbers that you would see when you saw the FIRST scholarship program. You'd see this big, giant banner number, and then a little asterisk that would say, some subset of this is available for FIRST Tech Challenge participants. That's gone. We've worked really hard with our FIRST scholarship providers to make sure that they understand that FIRST has research that shows that the outcomes for students coming out of FIRST robotics competition teams and the outcomes of students coming out of high school level FIRST Tech Challenge teams are the same. So we've worked with our FIRST scholarship providers to help them understand that someone who's graduating from FIRST Tech Challenge and someone who's graduating from FIRST robotics competition, you're getting the same high quality student. So you don't see that disparity as much anymore. However, there are still a few scholarships within the program that are specifically available for students from one program or the other. You'll find that here, most of them will say FRC and FTC. Some of them will just say one. So usually the question that I get right after this is, well, what about FIRST LEGO League? So our scholarship providers are interested in what you've done in high school. They're not discounting any experience that you may have had before that, but what they're looking for is particularly that high school level experience. So if you've done FIRST LEGO League Junior, FIRST LEGO League, and then also FIRST Tech Challenge and or FIRST Robotics Competition, that just makes you an even more attractive candidate. Does that make sense? Great. Then here you've got the provider name. I'll get to the questions in a second. Provider name, if you click on this, you can see it's a hyperlink, and any of the scholarships that you'll see on the page will be hyperlinked here. That will take you to the scholarship provider's website. So in this case, I think if we clicked on Kettering University, it would take us to the Kettering admissions homepage. So you can learn a little bit more about that university before you decide whether or not you want to apply for their scholarship. Location is going to show you the abbreviation for United States state. For those of us who are coming from Canada or for some other countries, here it will show you the Canadian province, the Mexican state, or if you're applying to our Turkish or Australian university partners, for Australia it'll say AUS, for Turkish it will say TUR. Under description, we've got a lot of information here, and I think I might even have a highlight over here on my page here. Bear with me. Yeah, I didn't need to point. All right, so we're here. So here in the description field, there's a lot of information. So the first thing that you see under any of these scholarships is how much that scholarship is available for. So in the case of our partners at Kettering University, they make available $5,000 renewable scholarships over the course of a 5-year Kettering University education. They have a unique system where you're going for 5 years versus 4, and they have a co-op program. For our more traditional 4-year colleges or universities, if they had renewable scholarships, you would see similarly, $5,000 per year up to $20,000 or whatever that might be. In the case of scholarships that are 1 year only, it will say $5,000 non-renewable. In many cases, after that dollar amount, you'll see a semicolon followed by various majors. That will tell you whether or not that scholarship is specifically available to engineering students or computer science students, etc. And then that details and applications link is the most important part of the entire scholarship page. I bet somebody can guess what you would find if you clicked on that. Yeah, the application details and the application itself. So many times that will take you to a PDF document hosted on the FIRST website that you would download, complete, and then send to the school as written in the instructions. In other cases, it will take you directly out to the school's website to apply directly on their webpage. Either way, that's the single most important click that you can do on this page in order to apply for a scholarship. If you find that you click there and you can't find what you're looking for, it looks like a broken link, send me an email and we'll make sure that that gets fixed. Oh, wow, look at, I got highlight crazy. All right, so then here under available, that is the number of scholarships that are available. So Kettering University makes available 48 of those $5,000 renewable scholarships each year. So some students will use that when they're applying, if you're applying for many schools, to kind of, to use video game jargon, to kind of min-max what's going on and see where you're most likely to get a scholarship. So when there are more available, that means they might have more applicants, but your percentage possibility of getting offered that scholarship is going to be higher. Many of our scholarships, and especially those that are not school specific, so those from companies or corporations that can be used at any school, you're going to see that there are very few of those, and as you can imagine, those are going to be very competitive. So what I recommend that folks do is keep an eye on the First Scholarship website and apply for those as soon as they go live. And then here we talked a little bit about grade already. This will have possible up to 3 options, 11, 12, or college. And there might be a combination of some of those, and that means that that scholarship provider will accept your application for their scholarship at any of those times. As I mentioned, the vast majority of our scholarship providers require that students apply during their 12th or senior year. There are 2 that require that you apply during your junior year. That would be the U.S. Navy ROTC scholarship, and I believe the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute scholarship. I'm trying to read it on the inside of my mind, but definitely take a look. If you're a junior this year, make sure that you're aware of those. And then the all-important deadline. Don't miss deadlines. So if you miss a deadline for a scholarship, there's nothing I can do to help. What I recommend that students do in that case is click on that details and applications link and reach out to the point of contact that's listed on there and ask them if there's any sort of flexibility at that university. But we all remember that about 75% of our scholarship deadlines fall within our busiest time of year. So it means that we've got to, every once in a while, face up out of the robot or out of our fundraising and start to think about our future a little bit. All right? Question? That's okay. So the question was, do you need to be accepted to the college or university before you apply for their scholarship? A few of our scholarship providers require that you're accepted first. Most of them do not. You can either submit your application for the scholarship in conjunction with your application for admission, or even kind of just before. What I recommend that folks do is do that in tandem, unless they require that you be accepted. And like I said, there's very few, and you can find those that require that you're accepted first by clicking on that details and applications link. The few that have that, generally that will take you to that college or university's website, and they'll require that you put in your accepted student number, something like that. Correct. So the question was, does it happen where someone gets offered the scholarship but not offered acceptance to the university? I have not heard of that instance. If you ever find yourself in that sort of situation, please feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you back with that university. And then lastly, what I hope is a helpful field here is expired. See that little hourglass? If you see that hourglass next to something, it means you missed the deadline. So if anybody here was applying to Kettering University for this coming year, you missed the deadline. All right? More questions? So if you're applying for one of the non-school specific scholarships, okay. So the question was, if you're applying for one of those non-school specific scholarships, does it have to go to a specific university or not? So there are, out of the 5 or 10 scholarships that are available for use at multiple schools, most of them are available to use at an accredited university anywhere. Some of them have either country or state restrictions. So a good example would be there is one scholarship available for students in Michigan, so from a team in the state of Michigan who want to go to school in the state of Michigan. It's called the Phil Clancy Scholarship, if anybody's looking at that. So that one does have some location-specific restrictions. Other scholarships, like the Raytheon Company Scholarship or the Gates Company Scholarship, they don't necessarily say that you have to go to one school or another. So again, what you'll hear kind of over and over again from me, and those of you who joined us for our College 101 panel the other night heard me say this no less than 100 times, is read the fine print, and every scholarship application and every school's gonna be a little bit different. And that's gonna apply not just to scholarship applications, but to applications, criteria, etc. So as you begin your college search, what I recommend that folks do is make a list of the schools that you're interested in applying for, even if you haven't decided that you're going to apply to them. Start to follow their criteria for admission as well as scholarship applications as early as you can. And then when you decide to start submitting for college acceptances, read that fine print, talk to your admissions counselor or your advisor. They're there to act almost as a coach for you as you go through that process. Talk to them about scholarship opportunities, whether within the first scholarship program or other opportunities at that university. Please. Great question. So the scholarship program works on an academic year cycle. So we launch the program every year right around September 1st. And it closes for the year the day before. I generally stop accepting new scholarship providers into the program in early or mid-April. There are always potential for changes. So I did have a scholarship provider contact me last week and say, we're going to extend our deadline. Can you update that? So I do recommend that folks do kind of put this into your rotation of kind of web pages. So if anybody's like me, I get up in the morning, I check the news, I check Facebook, and then because it's my job, I check the first scholarship program to really make sure everything's still working. But I would recommend that in your case, as you go through that in the morning, that you check just to see what's updated. And I want to share a couple more tips for you. So we're going to go backward. Bear with me. All right, so here. So one thing that you can do on the scholarship program is you can sort by. So if we were on the actual web page, you would click on sort by, and you would have these options here. So you can sort by deadline, so deadlines that are coming up the soonest or are going to come out the latest, and then date posted. So that date posted, if you sort by that, will show you the scholarships that have been most recently added there. All right, let's see if I can get back to where I was. Nope. Okay, so let's poke through some of these other filters. And I want to make sure that we've got time to talk internships as well. So, all right. So quick poke through how each of the filters work. So college location is an important one. Many of us conduct our college search based on where we physically want to be when we go to school. If we want to stay in the state that we're from, or we want to move very far away, whatever we want to do, you can use this and search by the college location, both by country and state or province when it comes to the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So if you were to select USA here, you would see any of our scholarship providers within the United States, or you could filter your search by specific states. Not all states have scholarships available, so if you were to click on, let's say Alaska, so we're right now working on our first Alaskan first scholarship provider, but right now if you were to select Alaska there, you would have no results because there are no scholarship providers in the state of Alaska yet. The other tip here would be to use that all areas. That's the easiest way to find those non-school specific scholarships is by clicking on all areas under the college location filter. And then grade we touched on, you can filter by those too. So if you are going into your junior year, I know a lot of sophomores and folks raise their hands here. Select that junior year and just see. See if there's stuff that you need to be on top of for next year, or if you're going to do most of your applications during your senior year. And then citizenship and residency requirements is an important one as well. So for those of us who might be interested in going to university outside of our home country, select has citizenship requirements or no citizenship requirements to see if you can still apply to that. So I generally recommend that folks select no citizenship requirements if they're looking to go to university outside of their home country. And then that details and applications link will tell you specifically if you were to select citizenship requirements, that would then tell you if there are specific requirements there. Does that make sense? Great. And then program type. So this is, again, if you know that you participated only in First Tech Challenge, choose that just to be safe. Same thing with First Robotics Competition. Choose that again just to be safe in case to make sure that you're applying for scholarships that you fit the basic criteria for. And then here, I need to come up with a better name for this filter, so if anybody's got great ideas, let me know. So this all scholarships filter lets you filter by those whose deadlines have passed or not. So what I would recommend for the couple of seniors who are still starting to look is when you get back to your hotel room or on your phone later today, click on that all scholarships link and click on not expired and see what's still available for you this year. And then here, you can also filter by new scholarships this year. So each year we have new scholarship providers who join the program. This year I think we had 23 new colleges and universities who joined. So if you want to see those, select new this year under this filter. And then we talked about the sorting functions. And then finally an in-process filter called focus. So one thing that we're looking to do to make your process easier is let you filter by major or concentration or focus once you're in university. The issue that we've run into with that is majors are called something different at almost every single university. So we're collecting data from our scholarship providers now to see what and where we can help them to streamline from our perspective so that it makes it easier for you to search for. So right now, engineering is kind of the easy one. So anybody who's telling us they have scholarships for STEM majors or mechanical engineering or electrical engineering or any kind of that, you can select this engineering filter and just see scholarships for that. So this will continue to morph and change over the years. Question up front there? Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that idea. Thank you. All right, let's see if I can. Oh, man, I tried to pause it. Okay, fine. All right, so avert your eyes. I'm going to flip back through some stuff really quickly, and I don't want anybody to get sick. All right, so then let's take a step back. So if we look at the First Scholarship Program as a whole, the webpage, you'll see kind of two halves. If you think about a newspaper where it folds in half, we refer to that as above and below the folds. So think about the webpage the same way. So the top half has some basic educational resources about the scholarship program and how it works. A couple things here. So if you were to click on this View All next to our scholarships blog, you would see all of our blog posts as well as have the ability to subscribe to that. And I recommend that folks do. You only get an email subscription notification when we add something new to the blog. And as you can see here, we don't do that too often, so we try to not make that yet another overwhelming series of emails. So what you would see on that blog are urgent information that we would want to share about the scholarship program or information from specific providers. And then over on the left side of that top, you've got 3 boxes that you could click on. The top says First Alumni. That will take you to our alumni page, and we'll pop into that in just a minute. The middle one is Alumni and Scholarships Resources, and we'll actually track over to that page in a second. And then Becoming a First Scholarship Provider, which are resources for colleges and universities or other partners who want to become scholarship providers. And then the below the fold part is all of the scholarship information that you need, including that sort and filter. The other thing to pay attention to down here is this search bar. This search bar only searches in the the provider and description field. So what I recommend is that you just put the name of a university if you're looking for something specific. And then up here, this little link is easy to miss, but it's helpful. That will take you to a downloadable report that you can then export into Excel and sort, filter, manipulate to your heart's content as you do your own search on your own computer offline. All right, we're going to quickly speed back again. Oh, and then I actually wanted to show you this page. So if we were to click on that middle box, the Alumni and Scholarships Resources, this is the page that you'll get to. This should hopefully answer any and every question you have about how the program works or how to get in touch with me. So you'll see at the top, we've got our most recent scholarship video that I think probably everyone in this room has seen for like 100 times at this point. We'll have new videos next year, I promise. And then underneath it, you've got some print resources, both the scholarship program brochure and our little 3x5 cards. Those are also available at every First Robotics competition event and most of our First Tech Challenge events as well. There's a couple of web widgets below that, so those of you who run team websites, easy way to just save these photos, save these pictures, and then I've got the code underneath it that you just need to plug in onto your web page so that your students, team members, anyone else visiting your team web page can easily access the First Scholarship Program or our alumni resources. Underneath it, I can't even read what that says. I think it says read. So that's got some more basic information, things like frequently asked questions, listings of the scholarship winners that we've been notified about, information like that. And then finally, a kind of an archive of our videos on that page. And at the bottom of every single one of these pages that we've discussed today is a little chat box. You can always leave a message there, and they always make their way back to me. And it might take a day or two for it to filter through any of those pieces, but it will always make it to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that come up. And then the other box that you could have clicked on that main page is our scholarship provider resources, which is available specifically to our college and university partners to help them understand what the First Scholarship Program is, how they can join. Questions on any of that? All right, cool. Anybody fallen asleep yet? All right, I'm going to take nobody answering as I... No, I'm kidding. All right. Any more questions specifically on the First Scholarship Program before we take a couple minutes and jump into internships? So the question was, if you have already received a scholarship, whether from the university or another partner, can you also apply for the first scholarship and receive that? That's another one of those things that's going to vary university by university. In some cases, the first scholarship is going to be called, or is going to be what's called a last dollar scholarship. So they'll take into account all of your financial aid, all of your merit aid, all of your scholarships, and then grant that. In other cases, it can be stackable. So that's something you'll want to talk to your admissions folks about. Also, in other cases, I have heard from a number of students, very exceptional students in the first program. And I hear from them a couple of times every year. And they say, I've been in first for 15 years. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old. I applied to this university and I didn't even get their first scholarship. What's going on with that? All I got was this presidential honors scholarship that was $10,000 more. So many times what we see are colleges and universities seeing that first students are so exceptional that they're even better than what that first scholarship is available at, and they'll give you a better scholarship instead. So if you have that case, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to dig into it for you or for anyone on your team. But most of the time, it's that school sees that folks are so exceptional, they want to give them different, better money instead. All right, I see a question right there. So how do you stand out on your applications? I think twofold. My tips would be, one, when you are applying for admission to a university, make sure to talk about your first experience. And don't just say, I was on a robotics team. I was on a first robotics competition team, or I was on a first tech challenge robotics competition, a first tech challenge team. This is what I did. This is what I learned. And don't just presume that the person reading your application knows what FIRST is and knows what that experience is. So explain that to them. And then on these applications, make sure that you fill out every single question. If there's an essay, that you take your time, that you write it well, that you proofread it. And then if you are required to submit recommendations as well, make sure that you submit those. So completing everything on time, those are the two biggest tips that I can give you when applying to FIRST scholarships. I saw another hand way in the back there. I think it will vary based on the college or university and the specific the specific piece of criteria that you do or don't meet. So if there is a scholarship that's specifically for an engineering student and you know absolutely that you are going to study computer science and you're going to go in as a declared major, I wouldn't waste is a strong word, but I wouldn't waste your time completing that application. What I would recommend in that case is that you connect back with your admissions counselor and explain to them how your first experience has shaped you, why you think it's important, and ask them what merit scholarships you might be able to apply to. I think when we talk about GPA, it becomes a little bit fuzzier. So those of you who joined us on Wednesday evening for our College 101 panel, you may have heard from some of our scholarship providers that some use a weighted GPA, some don't use your weighted GPA, some do their own new GPA calculations once you apply to their school. So if you're close to whatever that GPA requirement is, I would recommend that you do complete that application anyway because that is a little bit fuzzier. Great. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Great. Please. Mm. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Fantastic and understood. Yep. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So the question for those of us who might not have heard that was, are there other resources that we can provide to help guide folks through this, some cases, very overwhelming process of college application, admission, and scholarship hunting? So if you go to the webpage right now and you click on that View All next to the scholarships blog, we've actually linked maybe about a month ago to a resource written by this interesting group of first teams who have collaborated together to try to solve many first issues like that. There's lots of community resources out there. I happened to help this one group write this resource, so I can vouch for its accuracy. It's a group called the Compass Alliance, so some of your teams might be members of that already, helping to guide it. But like I said, if you click on View All there, you'll see a link to their blog page, and then what we'll do in the future is make sure that that's easy to find. So thank you, that's valuable. Question? Great. So the question is, are there any full scholarships? So scholarships within the program range from anything from $500 one-time awards all the way up to a few full tuition scholarships over the course of your education. Those, as you can imagine, are very few and far between. Off the top of my head, I know that Northeastern University in Boston has one full ride scholarship that they make available each year, and I believe that there are a couple of more. That's another one of those things that's going to vary a little bit year by year, so I would recommend that you go through that kind of search process. Downloading that document here might be your best bet to kind of sort and filter that. Please. Where are you from? Okay. Gotcha. Got it. Got it. So the question is if we have undocumented or DACA students applying for scholarships. So that, again, is going to vary school by school, and that's going to be based on their internal policies. In many cases, scholarships will be subject to having completed your financial aid paperwork, your FAFSA, if you start to hear that term thrown around. That helps the school to determine what financial aid would be made available to you. Some schools will partner with undocumented or DACA recipients to work through that. Some won't. So it's going to be a school-by-school issue. So as you go through the scholarship program and start to sort and search, check with each of those scholarship providers directly. And then I'm also available as a resource as well. So if you have specific schools that you're interested in and you find yourself in that sort of status, First, and myself in particular, we are safe folks to talk to and to share your own personal struggles, whether that's with documentation status, with LGBTQ status, etc. We are safe people to talk to, so please come to me with your questions, your concerns, and we'll help to the best of our ability. All right, so I'm going to jump onto the internship portal just to make sure that we step into that in the few minutes we've got left here. Oh boy, we're going to get through all this again. All right, so internship portal works very similarly to the FIRST scholarship program. The real big difference here is scholarship portal, exclusive scholarships available to FIRST participants. Internship portal, not necessarily exclusive. Does that make sense? All right. So the internship portal is an in development, always kind of in flux and changing, partnership with FIRST and supporter companies. So this is a benefit that's made available to companies who support FIRST in other ways, sponsors, suppliers, etc., who then also want to hire FIRST alumni as their interns. So all you got to do to find those is go to firstinspires.org/alumni. If you only remember two things from this presentation. Everybody remember what the first thing is we remember? Yeah, firstinspires.org/scholarships. And the second thing we're going to remember is firstinspires.org/alumni. Each of those pages cross-reference to each other too, so you can easily switch between one and the other. So the alumni page is where you can find information on both internships as well as general information for what happens once you become an alum, how to get in contact with folks in your area, etc. So again, we'll talk about that above and below the fold. So this page will look very, very, very similar to the scholarship page. So you see kind of blog on the top, some information on the right, or excuse me, the left there. So that first link, like we saw on the scholarship page where it leads to the alumni page, opposite here on the alumni page, it'll take you back to scholarships. The alumni networking group is important for folks, so all of those seniors who raised your hands, please join that group now. All you need to do is click there. It'll take you to LinkedIn, where you can either request to join that group with your current profile or create one easily and then join. And then Stay Involved will take you to volunteer opportunities as well. And then we have our alumni updates blog. We do update this blog far more frequently than the scholarships blog. This is where we tell the stories of alumni like you, so that you can see all of the cool things that FIRST alumni are doing in the world, as well as share your story with us. So again, if you click View All, you'll be taken to a page where you can see all of the blog posts, as well as subscribe to that. And then below the fold, it looks almost exactly the same as the scholarship program, with just a couple of updates. So instead of college location, it's going to be internship location. And many of our internship providers have offices throughout the United States and or the country in which they're based. So many of those are going to not have a location in them, and that means that there's a variety of locations you can apply to. Grade, in this case, is going to show you high school or college. So there are a few of our internship providers who are willing and interested in hiring high school students. As you can imagine, based on the companies that you see who work with FIRST, most of them are looking for folks who are over the age of 18, because you'll need to do things like sign non-disclosure agreements, make sure that you can take care of yourself safely, etc. Citizenship and residency is going to be the same as it is on the scholarship program, where you're going to see, do you have to be a citizen of a specific country or not? And then program type here is going to be FIRST Robotics Competition, FIRST Tech Challenge as well, and then the sorting options. So we can take a look at one of our friends here from BAE Systems. So you can see under program, they are interested in hiring anyone, anywhere from FIRST to become interns there. If you were to click on BAE Systems here, you'll get a link over to their main webpage where you can learn a bit more about the company. Their location, they've got them all over the place, and they want to hire you wherever you are. And then a brief description about what their opportunities are and why they want to hire you. And then a link to their details and applications. In almost every case here on our internship portal, you're going to be taken to that company's career page where you're going to apply like everybody else. But do not forget to mention that you're applying because you are a FIRST participant or a FIRST alumni, and that's why you're there. Many of these companies, as you'll see from these descriptions, like here, please note that you're a first alum on your application. They're going to make sure that they read that. So those of us who've been through the job search process, we know that you can submit a resume that goes into some sort of system somewhere and then gets lost forever, and you might never hear from a company, or you might hear back from them pretty quickly that says, great, thanks, we're not interested. What many of our companies in our internship portals are going to do is look at your application, which is sometimes the hardest part of a job or internship search, is just getting some real person to look at your information. So as long as you are identifying that you're a first alum, that's what they're telling us they're going to do, is they're going to look, they're going to see, a human being is going to make sure whether or not you're qualified for that role. And then our friends at BAE Systems are looking specifically for interns in college. So even if you are not in college yet, you can apply in the next couple of years. And then most of our internships do not have deadlines, though a few do. Pardon me. So keep an eye on that as well. And then if there are deadlines, they'll show whether or not they're expired. Questions on internships? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Good question, because you're kind of in between, right? I think what I would do is look at both. Specifically, if you're under the age of 18, I wouldn't apply for anything that just says college, because that's usually what that's indicating. But go to that webpage, reach out to the folks who are there, and see what they might be willing to do. So that's a great question. The majority of the internships in the internship portal, and I'm reading in my brain again, I think almost every single one that we have posted is paid. So either paid or college credit, and many of our companies will work with you to determine which one is more attractive to you. So I can even tell you that we post first internships, so internships at first headquarters, also go on that page. And I have just hired 2 interns for this summer, both of whom are first alum, to help us in the first development department, and they found us through that, and I'm happy to say that we do pay our interns. Gotcha. So internships generally tend to be, kind of early work experience. Some companies, more and more companies are approaching us saying, well, we're kind of interested in doing a hybrid here. We want to fund some people's education, but we want to make sure also that they come and work for us. So there's a couple of those instances. I don't know that there are any published now, but I think in the next year or so we'll have more and more of those, and those will be published both under the scholarship program as well as the internship portal. In the back there. Oh, can you speak up for me? Sorry. Yes. So the recommendation is that anybody on a high school team now knows about the scholarship program so that we're not missing out on those opportunities. Because like you said, the vast majority of our scholarship opportunities are available to seniors in high school. If you do miss out on that, I definitely encourage you to apply for those internships and connect with your university and see what merit funding is available, whether through your university or other avenues. So in many cases, in addition to FIRST scholarships, you can also apply for community-based scholarships, those from religious organizations, other community organizations you might be a part of as well. One trend that we do see in higher education overall is that many students are funded to start college, and then a lot of funding goes away after your sophomore year. And so we have folks, whether first alumni or not, who are struggling to pay for their education after that second year of school. So I encourage people to apply for renewable scholarships as soon as possible. Make sure that you continue to meet that criteria. And anytime that you're in college, don't stop looking for scholarship funding. Well, there might not be opportunities within the FIRST scholarship program. There are lots of opportunities in your community, and I would recommend that you look at some outside scholarship aggregators. If you just Google search or whatever your preferred search engine is, search for scholarships, and you'll get a lot of opportunities there. And I would start looking through those aggregators for non-first specific scholarships where you can use your first experience to help you in those applications. It's a great thing to talk about on your essays. It shows your leadership experience. Being here at First Championship is something you can talk about. So even if you're not applying for first specific scholarships, your first experience still helps you with those. All right, I think we got time for one more question. Right over here. Yes, so many times folks will do internships after college. So I myself, when I was in school, I think I mentioned earlier, I was a theater major, so very highly lucrative career that clearly I'm still involved in. So I did an internship between my junior and senior year of college, and I loved it so much that they hired me back after I graduated for another summer. So many cases, really for companies and for you as interns, like the best case scenario is you go one summer, you do such an awesome job that they want you back the next summer, and then they want to hire you full time. So just as much as that's a perfect scenario for you, that's a perfect scenario for the companies as well. So when you do get into any company as an intern, whether it's through the First Internship portal or anything else, make sure that you do take that seriously. It's really your first job, so make sure that you're dressing professionally, acting professionally, doing your best at all times. And if you love that company, definitely make sure that they know and that they hire you back in the future. All right, so thank you all for joining today. This PowerPoint is available on the First Scholarship webpage. I'll show you where. Let's get back here. It is available on our scholarship and alumni resources. If you click on that middle box there, this PowerPoint presentation is listed under Read. If you have any questions, concerns, future issues, if you didn't get a copy of my cards as they were floating around, I've got a few more up here. Or like I said, you can always reach out to me through the website and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. So thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of your First Championship and I'll look forward to being in touch.